So spiritually, how do you think this has affected you guys? What do you think you've learned through the journey? Because you still haven't gotten a positive pregnancy test. You're still on the journey. And my prayer is that someday you get to come back on and we get to celebrate that. Something that you've desired has worked, and we can thank God for it. But spiritually, on the journey, how do you think the journey of infertility and IVF, and then potentially looking into fostering, how has that shaped your spiritual lives?
Well, like you said at the beginning, there are a lot of stories in the Bible of couples being infertile and then being blessed with a baby later in life. There are also stories in the Bible where God's curse or punishment has been you can't conceive.
Yeah.
And there are lots of verses in the Bible where it's like, blessed are those who can carry children. Also in James, like, care for the orphans and the widows. And all of that, it feels like a very similar, I have to hold a celebration and a grief.
Yeah.
Like, rejoice in trials and like, consider it joy when you face persecution and go through struggles. Well, right now, like I want to use joy to describe our situation in a lot of ways. So I think for me, it was like, what is wrong with me? Why is God not letting me be a mom? Like, is it that he just wants to stop the genetics of me? Like, what is it about me? And that, originally that was my really big struggle. And I think now it's more been like kind of the changing of perspective, like, why not me? Because, like, I've got a really great teammate in Brad, and we both have a heart for kids, and so between student ministry and teaching and other places in our lives, like, we just really care about kids, and so why not us for things like fostering adoption, where kids might not get that love and support. But that's hard.
Do you ever feel like you've gotten an answer from God on why? It's not often that I hear God or ever audibly speak to me. Sometimes you'll be reading the scriptures and have some kind of revelation, sort of, or be praying, and maybe it dawns on you, you get a piece about a certain idea that God has for your life. That's the only way it's ever really happened for me. When God is answering any questions, or you feel a nudge in a certain direction or other, it's just peace about the direction that I'm headed or the decision I'm going to make over a different type of decision, right? So for you, IVF versus fostering versus, any other options, you've had to have probably gotten peace along the way, some kind of peace in the midst of the storm.
For me, Brad gets on me all the time, but like I like answers.
She's black and white as much as it comes.
So like I there's more peace and maybe just a calmness in having an answer than not having an answer. With this, I really want, I just prayed a lot that God would just give me an answer. Like, if you're going to tell me no, like, I can't tell me no. Save me the time, save me the energy, save me the effort. And so sometimes there have been moments where it's like, should we continue? Should we change paths? Should we do whatever? And it's like, as soon as I have an answer, I'm like, great, that's the answer. Because then
or a semblance of an answer, right? Like, I think that's part of the hard part, is when you get into that mentality in your spiritual life. For both of us, this isn't just Ronni, like, we were so desperate for answers that we were like looking everywhere for an answer, right? And so, like, it could be stupid stuff, like there was a baby formula sample that showed up at our house in the mail, and I'm like, that's the answer. Like, we're supposed to keep down this path because God sent us a baby formula sample in the mail. Like,
I know it sounds like you're joking, but you're not joking.
No, I'm 100% serious.
Yeah,
like, that's really where my brain
I've
went.
experienced similar things to that, where you were just so desperate for an answer, you will interpret anything as that. It'd be one of those things that you need an answer to something, and you're just like, okay, God, show me the answer, and you take your Bible, and I throw it open on the table and say, go, God, and that's a sign, I landed on this verse, and that,
Or you try to pin, like, absolutes on God. And so, like, we, at some point in this journey, we really decided, like, Ronni kept saying like, thy will be done. Like I want to lean
Yeah.
into that. Right.
Yeah.
And we were getting ready to go through a transfer, and we prayed that prayer, and Ronni spoke about it at youth group. And then when God said no, and we were like, but thy will be done. How could you give us a no? Right. Like that can't be right.
That can't be thy will.
That can't be his will. Right. And so like, you just start to rationalize everything, or like look for crazy answers. And sometimes, we don't get the answer. And I think for my spiritual life, like I went through a period of like grief, and then I was angry, and then I was kind of like ambivalent to like God. Like I didn't care. Going to church didn't excite me. Like I was just kind of going to church actually made me sad. But I feel like I've hit kind of, and Ronni can tell me if she agrees or disagrees, but in this last, I don't know, probably 6 to 8 months, not that I haven't still been really sad at times, but I do feel like I have recognized an opportunity I don't feel like prior to IVF I was a great spiritual leader as a husband. I just didn't really know what that looked like. Ronni has like Bible college training. Like she knows the Bible 10 times better than I do, which is awesome. Like I love that because I can ask her questions and she can answer them and I don't feel like an idiot. But
Nerd.
I found myself in this place where I was struggling because I'm like, man, I can't give my wife children and I'm not leading very well spiritually.
Yeah.
Like start to question my masculinity and my manhood. And in the last just, I don't know, handful of months, maybe this year, like I feel like God has really shown me how do I lead us spiritually. And that's going through devotions, but also having hard conversations and challenging Ronni to think about things differently when she's desperate for an answer, right, and wants to see it black and white. How do I help her see the gray?
Yeah.
And so that's been kind of a cool thing that I feel like God has done for me in the last, like I said, 6 months or so. We've been married over 4 years, and I finally feel like I am able to lead us spiritually in a way that is productive and like biblical.
Yeah. Ronni, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Is that something you see too in
Yes.
Brad? You feel like you've seen Brad grow?
Yeah, we've had several conversations this week. Actually, it's just been like thanking him for taking such an initiative to really just push our faith deeper and to make steps forward, like to continue to grow and to like continue to see our future, not just in terms of we're blessed because we have children or we don't have children.
Yeah.
But like we're blessed because we have each other and we have a great house and we have family that is still alive and like financially we're okay and like we have many other blessings that it shouldn't be in black and white in terms of success.
Well, that's such a good perspective. Like, I mean, for everything you don't have that you want, there are things you do have that other people don't.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that doesn't make that specific issue of kids easier, but I think gratitude is huge, in your Christian life. So, Ronni, for you, how do you think it's affected you spiritually? Probably in a little bit different way than Brad. So if Brad is, hey, I've seen these changes in Brad saying I've seen these changes myself, leading my family spiritually. Is there anything in your life that you feel like you've kind of come around to from a spiritual standpoint?
I think
has it deepened your faith in God, your desire to know Him, anything like that?
I think more than anything, it's made me realize how little control I have. Like I really like control. I like to feel like I can understand things and like put it together. And there's controversy on whether or not you should do IVF if IVF is playing God, and we've like had to have those conversations, kind of battle through that. And we have our thoughts. Obviously, we did IVF. But even in that, even in a should work, like God can still, God still has the power to say yes and no. Like there's no going around God. And that's okay, because there have been plenty of times in both of our lives where we have begged God for something, and it hasn't happened, and it's ended up being the best thing for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it could really go sort of either way, you know. I mean, this could either really, really strengthen somebody's faith, or it could really have the opposite effect to where it's like you're just in such a dark hole. It's like, you know, God, screw you. Like, you know, frankly,
Yeah.
like that. This isn't worth it. Like you are not working for me. You know, there's nothing about this seems kind. Why would I want to follow a God who's unkind? You
Yeah.
know, and I think a lot of times people deal with it more so in losing kids, but like even in the not having kids, you know, it's a different kind of pain,
Yeah.
but still a pain that I think can push you either closer to the Lord or farther away from Him if you let it. You know, even what Job's wife in the Bible says, like, tells her husband,
Curse God.
go curse God and die.
Yep.
You know, like, so I think
Yeah.
a lot of people end up there.